But let me start out with some background. So what are some of your questions?
But you would look this way, huh?
Yeah. You think I'm in television. I'm a liberal on Fox News. You think I know, right? I don't.
Maybe you could first just tell us a bit about you, give us your name and a bit about your background.
Okay, my name is Ellen Ratner, and I am the partner of a current medical student here at SGU who's in her third year. And I'm on the board of WINDRIF, which is the nonprofit that has an office building here at SGU. Dr. Cal will be over here soon. I am a talk person and have been doing talk radio and talk television. I guess George is not here, right? Should be here. George Grant. And so I've been doing talk radio and talk TV for 21 years. I have a news bureau in Washington, D.C. called Talk Radio News Service. We do news for talk radio stations all across the U.S., Canada, and some other parts of the world. And one of the things we did at Talkers Magazine, which is the industry magazine for talk radio, is we take people all across the country, all across the world. And 6 years ago this coming March, we took 6 talk show hosts to South Sudan. 2 right, 2 left, 2 in the middle. And I got bitten by the Sudan bug. And I've been going there every 12 weeks since. Dr. Cal McPherson from WINDRIF came last year with us and was very active in that. The Minister of Health for our state, there's 10 states in South Sudan, will be here in 2 weeks, along with 2 medical doctors from the state minister, from the federal Minister of Health for South Sudan, if we can get them out. And of course, that's always an issue. Agat Dang is an American citizen now. She was brought here as a refugee in 2001 and is going to be attending the special pre-med program that Charles Modica designed for these students. And so I'm happy to answer any questions. I go, as I say, to South Sudan every 12 weeks. Dean Lambert and Dr. Modica have now they call this peace through medicine, because as you know, South Sudan is not a very peaceful place these days. Of the students, we have 1 lost girl who's an American citizen. We have 10 Dinka men from northern Badr Ghazal, the one state that's close to Darfur and the north. Some of them were child soldiers. They have all seen somebody killed during the war. We have a project called Survivor Hearts. These hearts are made by women who have seen somebody killed in front of them. Don't know if any of you were here when Dr. Richard Brown taught a breathing workshop. He came over to South Sudan and taught us how to breathe. And we run a post-traumatic stress program, and the women make these hearts to survive, literally to survive. Now, why do we not have electricity and water, running water? There is approximately, the country is the size of Texas, got its independence on July 9th, 2011. As you know, I think it was the 15th of December was a Sunday night, war broke out, mainly for resources, but it has a tribal edge to it between the Dinkas and the Nuer. There were not elections held after it became a country, so that was a big problem. But in a country the size of the state of Texas in the United States, there's only 35 miles of paved roads. When I first came there in 2008, there was 1 mile of paved road. So they've made some progress. It is considered by many, by the United Nations, part of South Sudan is considered the hungriest place on earth. And it is more remote, the only other place on earth that has human beings other than the research stations in Antarctica. It has it is considered not only the hungriest place on earth, but other than parts of uncontacted tribes in the Amazon, is considered the most remote place on earth. The project I work on brings people who are held in slavery back from the north, there is an exchange of Nevidium tablets, which are tsetse fly, whatever, sleeping sickness, and there are actually prices set to get these people back to the south. There's no more slave trade, and the prices are set with these what's called Arab Dinka peace committees. Part of what's going to happen here at St. George's is the clinical tutors from Khartoum, who are Arab, will be tutoring our students here, and that's why part of the reason we're calling it Peace Through Medicine, because it's the first time that a university, any university in the world, has brought students from South Sudan to study in the midst of war. What else can I answer for you?
Before you go to that, right, you said you got the bug when you went there, but what exactly was the mission that took you to Sudan?
Well, the first time 6 years ago. There is an African-American talk show host by the name of Joe Madison. And he's known to, some of you may know his work, he's called the Black Eagle. And he calls himself the Black Eagle. And Joe Madison had been to South Sudan before and had worked on the issue of slavery during the war between the North and the South. And he had gone on hunger strikes, and he had been protesting in front of the Sudanese embassy. And he said to me, Ellen, let's bring a trip to South Sudan now that there's peace. So that's how we first got there. It wasn't a mission, it was really to show 6 talk show hosts what South Sudan was like. And as I said, I go back every 12 weeks. Agat went with me last March with Dr. Feldman from here. We took 5 physicians. And we're going to take 5 physicians this March. And 2 medical students.
And the process, because you said that they were basically as slaves, and so what's the process like in terms of being able to get them out?
So the people you're going to meet here were never slaves. Some of them were lost boys, some of them were child soldiers. By the way, are they on their way? Okay. And so the process of getting them out is because the area that most of these are from, which is called Northern Barda Ghazal, there's 10 states, the governor has made a lot of connections with these students, with these slaves, and after the end of the war, there were set up these, as I said, Arab Dinka peace committees. So there are 3 or 4 what's called Arab slave retrievers, and they go into the north. They explained to the people that hold the slaves that it is now illegal for them to have slaves, and they give them 50 Novidium tablets, which is cow vaccine, for each person. And as you know, the Dinkas are called the cattle people, and cattle is their bank, it's their money, and so as well as the Arabs in the north, and so to have cow vaccine is more precious than gold. And they let people go for cow vaccine. Right? Do you have anything to add to that?
You said it all.
Okay.
I have a question. Isn't it true that the South has oil? Am I right?
Yes.
Correct. Right. And the North has a port.
Right.
Right. Is there any link between that?
Okay, so the war right now, in my view, and you can ask these people, is about oil resources. It has an ethnic flavor because the oil is held in the Nuar area of South Sudan. So there is some charges that President Kiir gave some oil contracts to Dinkas and didn't give them so much to Nuars. The truth is hard to sort out. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I can't even say anything. I'm not into politics, and I really don't want to know what they're doing. It's too messy for me to understand.
So the port is at the Red Sea in the north. There has been some talk about building a pipeline through Kenya. And there's also some talk that, for instance, next to Northern Barda Ghazal is uranium resources. It's a very rich resource. I used to say, before this war broke out, I hope South Sudan gets oil and I hope it waits 10 years till civil society can be built. Because there's very little civil society structures, as we've seen this last month. It'll be a month on the 15th, and what's today, the 12th, 13th? What's today, 12th? 13th. So in 2 more days, this current civil war will be a month old. And so the issue is that there's a huge fight over these resources. Now, our governor in Northern Badr Ghazal says, and by the way, his Minister of Health will be here in 2 weeks, along with the 2 medical doctors who help the Minister of Health. But our governor has said that before the first, there were 2 wars, somewhere between 4 million people were killed. And 4.5 million. The first war went from independence in 56 to 1983, and the second war was really about religion and Sharia law, and that went from 83 to 2005. 4 million people killed, the largest genocide since Cambodia and Rwanda put together. And so our governor says that